she was there. And then I talked to Ray. I mean, it was brief. I guess it was a long day.
All right, check YouTube for me.
It's pretty street bad you out there.
That's all right. Which one? Saying what on which one? How does it look?
Looks good. I think my quality is on auto. But, I can't change the resolution because I'm on 70. No, but it looks good.
All right, check the other. What do you call me?
Facebook is still live. Yeah, I have no problem.
All right, check it again for me. Check check Periscope first. We had a conversation about it, and I let her know what Trump said, but I let her know that for me, Hillary being a crook was far worse, and not just a crook, but she's got 30 years of scandals following her. However you want to describe it, it's 30 years of scandals. Whether it's just her or it's her and Bill, it's still 30 years of scandals. And then,
like what scandals exactly?
You can go back to Arkansas where they have, of course, you got Whitewater.
Whitewater. So that was like.
But in Arkansas, there are two, or as he came up there, like 2 or 3 other scandals there.
I think that's a huge generalization. I don't think that's true. I remember Whitewater. I remember there was. There was everything with what's her name, Monica Lewinsky, which wasn't
and then
Hillary.
Jennifer Flowers.
But that wasn't Hillary either.
No, but I'm saying
Bill.
they. But
you can't lump
you want
sexual exploits into.
Yes, you
Hillary.
can.
You can't.
Because if you want Hillary in office, you're gonna get Bill.
That's really not fair, though. To say bad things about Hillary because of stuff that her husband did, I mean, that seems ridiculous.
To say that we don't want Hillary because of that, because she was involved, whether it's her husband or not.
But she wasn't. I mean, you
she's
can't
still
blame
there.
her for something her husband did.
When it comes to,
that's not fair.
But you're going to have him in office doing. Let's take the intern. You're going to have him in the office doing the same thing with interns. Is that so? That's okay to tell our young girls that that's okay.
It would be okay with me.
Wait. Do what with interns?
So it's okay to say put Bill back in the White House with Hillary.
I'm saying I would make choices
and say
with
it's
Hillary,
okay.
totally independent of Bill.
Wait, Devon. Do what with interns?
Bill Clinton. You know what Bill Clinton did with them, that Monica Lewinsky?
But that's a bold statement to say that he made that mistake then, that he's going to just...
Okay, so at what point, but is that one? Okay, let's just talk about the sexual harassment. The ones that have actually been proven, he got 3 of them. And an intern,
why
so...
are we talking about that?
Okay, let's talk about Hillary. Let's talk about how she colluded with the DNC to not have Bernie Sanders as the nominee. That's fact.
Well,
let's talk about all of the things that happened with her in the State Department. All those are facts. Let's talk about the money, the trail that's being followed from the Clinton Foundation to basically pay for play. It's all coming out. If you look at the server instance, again, you have issues of
things like it's ridiculous. Now,
see, but that's not little
or
or
you know what I mean? Like, have you?
what is
ever
it? Poor
deleted-
judgment?
Have you ever deleted an email?
But I don't work for the
Well,
states.
let me ask you this: have you ever deleted an email?
I don't work for the
But
states.
listen, answer my question. Have you ever deleted an email? Is it automatically a scandal? Like, it's not, man. Just
If
because you delete emails, it's not.
But
like,
the thing
there
is,
needs
she
to be,
went.
It needs to be something scandalous in the email. Like,
She
deleting
went
an email isn't a
around
scandal.
the State Department.
Yeah,
Why
she
not just
used
go
her
through the State
personal
Department
email.
email?
She just
But
used
if you
her
know you're
personal
sending
email.
classified information,
It's just not a scandal for me. It's not a big deal.
Okay, I mean,
like,
and
you're
that's-
gonna tell your kid like, oh, it's good that Hillary didn't win because of that. I don't know. That's
it's
insane.
good because of the fact that I'm saying Hillary had all of this other baggage.
Like, see,
Whether
the
you
baggage-
choose to
the baggage
recognize
was created
it,
by Trump.
the
The
baggage.
bag-
So you're
no
saying
one-
that Trump
I'm saying
put the
before
server
Hillary,
there?
I'm saying before Hillary started running for president, no one ever heard about any emails or any.
That's
you know,
because she
any of
didn't
that
do it
stuff.
until she was in the State Department. And it came out when Comey started talking about it in July.
Comey. Oh yeah, let's bring up Comey.
So, but if you don't think
Yeah.
that that's a
It's ridiculous.
indicative of the behavior that she could possibly have,
She's a politician. I think they did a
I
great
don't know.
job.
I just
They did a great job of making those things issues. Like those things are.
and you know what
You shouldn't even be discussing them. They're not even. It's not even relevant.
I would.
No.
So
And
then
I
that
think
means whatever
now
Trump
it's
said
all
is
gonna
not.
evaporate. You're
Okay,
not
so
even
then that
gonna hear
means
about it
whatever.
anymore.
If you're saying that,
and this is how irrelevant it is, Devon. You won't hear about it anymore.
Okay,
no
so if
one's
you're
gonna
saying
care in the future.
all of that
because
stuff
it's
is
never gonna
irrelevant
matter.
about Hillary?
It's never going to matter again. Any
okay,
of it.
so if all that stuff was irrelevant about Hillary, then you got the same apply the same stuff to Donald Trump and say whatever he did was irrelevant.
Like what? I'm not going to. I can't make a generalization of that.
But you're saying everything that Hillary did is irrelevant.
No. I'm
Well,
saying
no,
the
okay,
things
but
you
you're-
just named off.
Those particular things are
I feel
irrelevant.
like
So
things
what
are
if I
relevant.
name about? What if I say about the 2005 thing that Donald Trump did?
What did he do? in 2005?
The saying,
The what? The
all the sexual
The rude
stuff that
things
he,
he
the
said?
rude things
Yeah,
he
but
said.
you're talking
Yeah, I
about
mean, but that's,
behaviors
you know.
versus actions. You're
I'm
talking
not gonna
about
condone
Hillary's
that either.
actions and not being able to have concrete access to all the information you need to make an educated judgment on what Hillary did versus Trump. We know from multiple sources, from multiple times.
So, okay, we
with
have the-
concrete evidence that the way he behaves.
Let's just take two of them in. We know for a fact the DNC and Hillary Clinton colluded to not have Bernie Sanders as the Democratic nominee. And
Well, I mean,
also,
wasn't Hillary competing with Bernie for the nomination?
That's
Like,
the
I
whole
don't understand
point.
why.
because
why that,
they picked
like,
one side,
Okay.
and not only that, but you have Donna Brazile,
But they picked based on the number of votes that
but
Hillary
they,
got.
but the
So I
DNC worked with Hillary to limit Bernie Sanders' access and to
Access
limit the
to
amount
what?
of people to the people, basically.
Like Hillary doesn't get to control his access to the people.
With the
I don't see that.
DNC, as far as money is concerned, as far as those things, the DNC can kind of control some of that stuff, and that's what you're missing is that the DNC can
I
do
think
that.
you're reaching.
And so I think I think for you, it's you just didn't want Trump, and that's I didn't care who it was. For me, it's they were just as bad. When Hillary tells you, I got a Wall Street face and a Main Street face, she's telling you to your, and those are facts. She's telling you already to your face. She gonna lie to you in your face and do something else behind your back. She's already telling you that, and that's okay. You're gonna accept that. At least with Donald Trump, he ain't got no filter, so you know exactly what he's thinking. I can work with somebody like that, but it's okay to have, and it's fact that you should have somebody. If Calvin were to tell you to your face, you know what? I'm gonna tell you something in your face, and when I go behind your back, I'm gonna say something different, and I'm telling you that up front.
Yeah, that
Are you
was-
gonna
that
believe
was a-
anything
that
he
was
says?
kind of a ridiculous comment she made, but I mean,
Or
I
how
could
about,
not vote for her. She's
how
fine.
come nobody's talking about how she called half of Donald Trump people deplorable? I mean, you're talking about Americans. So if you want to talk about what he said, you got to talk about how she called him deplorable. Now, to me personally, I will take
I like that word.
the one thing.
I think that's a really good description of a lot of the people that supported Trump. I really do. I'll stand behind that comment. Whatever it is.
I
I'm going
would,
with that.
I would,
like that more.
I would
You go down
disagree.
to the South, I'm thinking we find tons of people.
Why would you? Because the fact that you may not agree with another, and trust me, there are a lot of people I don't agree with. But why stoop to calling them deplorable? I mean, why?
because
So
of the
you're
things
basing
they
upon
say
the
and
things they say and the things
support.
that they do. Because so anybody who supported Trump,
Like-
are they deplorable?
Well, if Trump comes out and says all Mexicans are rapists and criminals, and then you support him, I would say, yeah, you're kind of deplorable. I
But
would say
then,
that's
if you're
deplorable.
also supporting the fact that he can create jobs, how do you
How does
separate
he
the two
create
from?
jobs?
How do you
How
create
is he
jobs?
creating jobs?
You can probably create jobs, and I'd have to do more research on the number of, let's take the taxes for businesses. You can decrease that so that the $30, $40 you're talking about difference in the amount of from China or whatever to United States as far as manufacturing jobs, so that it offsets the losses that they would have in that particular case. So that way you're not necessarily creating jobs. What you're making it easier for companies to do is come in at 15% versus the 40% that we charge now for taxes. Being able to bring those jobs back, they have a lower tax rate, therefore they can try and compensate some of the money that they would be losing
Yeah, I could see some
on that
tax
there.
cuts
So
with
that
this
that
and
is
that,
one
but
of
I
the
don't
things
know.
that they can do. And that's a big thing, to bring back the manufacturing jobs. Even if I were to ask you
But
what
I think
Hillary
when you're
wanted to
also,
do,
talking about cutting a lot of government programs and government.
I cut the IRS.
EPA, this and that, the IRS, like that's getting rid of jobs.
you know what though? Here you go. This
So I guess the better question is, why are companies wanting to get rid of jobs then? I mean, the bottom line is, I could take the tax cut and run away with it.
and that's where you would have to.
What's
your incentive?
The bottom line is, what's really going to incentivize these employers of wanting to create jobs when they've taken so many away?
You know what?
You showed
That's
that
a
article.
very
You
good
showed the
question.
article about AT&T wanting to slash jobs, like because they're going to get a tax cut, they're going to want to bring those jobs back, or
Well, I think one of the things you would have to try and do.
The notion
and
is
this
that
would
if
be-
they're
hold on,
not
hold
paying
on.
taxes,
Let
they
me-
have
let me
money
answer
to,
the question right quick. I think one of the things you'd have to try and do, and this would be up to Trump as far as his leadership is concerned, is to tie something to it. So say, all right, I will give you this percentage amount of cut, but then on that same note, this is what I want you to do. And if you don't do that, then you don't get the cut. And so there are a number of different ways that you could try and get that done as far as that's concerned.
If you
But
look
that's
at,
what I
well,
wanna
look at
hear,
Obama's
but I'm not
administration.
hearing that.
and
Obama
I-
has cut unemployment in half without any tax cuts. So you could say, oh, he's created all these jobs. To the notion.
that was the conversation that we had. It was about the unemployment rate.
Unemployment is
But see,
cut
that
in
was
half
going to
since
go
Obama
down.
took office. Like the notion that jobs are going to be created by the government that cuts taxes. It's not true.
I just feel like there's got to be a need to do it. I feel like when it comes to the workplace, these corporations are more inclined to cut the workforce than to actually expand the workforce. And if they are going to expand the workforce, because they're going down new avenues of revenue streams, and they have to create those jobs in order to sustain them. I think that article about AT&T says it all.
Well, I think
They're going to slash jobs in other areas to create jobs in areas that they're pursuing.
so. Here, I would ask you a question, Joe, because you said the president can't create jobs. So how
No,
can?
I'm not saying he can't create jobs, but I'm saying
But
assuming
didn't
that
you
he's-
say that earlier? That you told me, how can the president take credit for it?
Well, how can you automatically take credit for it?
Okay, so
because,
how can you
know,
give credit Obama for?
I'm just saying
for the job?
unemployment's cut in half since
But
he
you
took
and you,
office.
and
So I'm just saying.
So you're giving that credit to him, though.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that without.
who are you
tax-
giving that credit to?
I'm saying that without tax cuts, the unemployment rate.
Okay,
cut
so
in
but
half
who are you
in the last
attaching
8
that
years.
credit
I'm just
to for
saying.
jobs?
I'm not saying. I'm not attaching it to anything.
But you
I would
did
look
say
at, I would
Obama.
look at specific cases before I made any generalizations about what caused anything. You know what I mean? I wouldn't make big generalizations.
So,
To tell you the truth.
but you did actually make that generalization earlier about
I'm just saying.
Obama
All I'm saying is
created jobs, and then
No,
you
no.
also
well,
said
you were saying that Trump was going to create jobs by cutting taxes, and all I said was
no,
that
we were having a conversation
that's
about.
what you just said. You said Trump
because
was going
the
to create
fact
jobs
that
by
you
cutting taxes.
asked me
All I
how could
said
it
was
be-
that the unemployment rate has cut in half since Obama took office. I'm not saying Obama created the jobs. I'm just saying that without tax cuts, unemployment has decreased by 50% in the last 8 years. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it was Obama. I'm not saying it was anything. I'm just saying we did it without tax cuts. Is what I'm saying. I'm saying that you don't need tax cuts to have strong employment numbers. That's what I'm saying.
And I think to what he was trying to say is how can you say that the president takes credit for that without looking at the overall factors of why it actually took place?
Here we go. So, are you done? Because I want to be able to get my comment.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, in looking at that, have you looked at how much the national debt has gone up since he's been in office? Because it's gone up about $10 trillion. So it's doubled over the last 8 years, which means the government is borrowing money. So they may not be decreasing taxes, but they're borrowing more money. And where's that money coming from? One is either coming from China, which they own. We owe them almost $2 trillion worth of stuff. But the bigger one is it's being borrowed from Social Security. So when Social Security has excess, at that point they buy government bonds, which means the money goes into the general fund, which means this now is there for the government to spend. So we've increased that $10 to $12 trillion over the last 8 years, which is something that we are leaving to our children. So granted, he may not have increased taxes, but he's put our children more in debt, and that's okay. And going back to your other comment, the reason I said Donald Trump could do this, because your question to me was, I forget if it was you or Calvin asking the question, well, how could Trump do it? And my response to that was, Trump could do it by trying this. So I didn't say that this is what he was going to do. The question was presented to me of, well, how could a president create jobs? And since he is the president-elect, I have to use his particular name in saying, okay, this is how he could do it. I'm not saying that's what he is doing. You're asking me how can it be done? And I think this is a fabulous discussion to have because people are confused about it. Whether it's who is attributed to creating jobs, businesses, who creates a job? And let's be honest, businesses create jobs. It's not a president. Because if a president cuts the...
Is the government a business?
But they suck up more money than anything else in the world. I mean, and if you're asking me, I would cut the business tax rate from down, I think it's at 35 to 40, down to what everybody else is doing. And I may even go a little bit lower. If I give you this cut, and I would put stipulations on it, if I give you this cut, this is what it has to go to. It has to go to jobs, whether it's manufacturing.
I think that's what the problem is. That's like the disconnect with all tax. Folks, try to say, oh, we cut taxes on the rich, we're going to go hire people.
Oh no, that's trickle down economics, and that has never been good. I think you have to have a stipulation on there saying, if I do this, then you must do this. Because as you said, it could be the fact that they may take the money and run. And that's, as you said.
I don't think the rich in America pay enough tax. When you look at the wealth distribution, they don't pay enough tax. Like the notion that we need to cut taxes for the rich people for any reason, it's ridiculous. For corporations too. So
but
exact opposite is true, I think.
So if you don't try and cut the tax rate for the corporations, you can't demand that they bring back jobs into the country. I mean, so how would you?
And that's why
you can't demand if they bring back jobs into the country.
But you can put stipulations on. Hey, if you want this, if you want this tax rate, this is what you have to do. If you don't want the tax rate, okay. But we can say, if you want this tax rate, no different than with the bailout when Obama came in office. He said, if you want this bailout, this is what you have to do. You have to pay it back here, here, and here. So it's a precedent for saying, if you do this, then we'll do this. And that's what I'm saying is, if we do that, and you can give companies an option. If you want to do this, if you want a 20% tax break, this is what that particular money has to go to. And I think by doing that,
and what percent, like when we look at the folks in our distribution of wealth in our country, who are the people we're giving this tax break to? Where do they fall? Where do they fall in the distribution of wealth?
See, I think
who are we giving it to? Exactly?
Don't get confused with what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because I think you're talking about the rich people.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about...
Are they people?
Here we go.
I mean, I'm talking about when you look at the wealth and income in America,
you got to talk about people.
Where are these tax breaks going to?
See, but that's what I'm saying there.
Who's getting it?
We're talking about two different things.
Okay.
I'm talking about corporations.
Okay.
And then the fact that
so
they
just want to reduce taxes for
corporations. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not talking about rich people. Even Warren Buffett made an example of, he makes about 15, 20 times as much as his secretary, but because of the loopholes in taxes, he paid about the same rate, if not a little bit less than his secretary, and that's wrong. And so like I said, don't get confused with what I'm saying. I'm merely saying.
Well, he's talking about his income taxes.
He's going to talk about his income taxes.
He's not talking about corporate taxes.
No, because the corporate taxes and income taxes are two separate things. And so if you want to deal with
Are they though?
because
Or is it just
personal
corporate tax is just a different form of income tax,
corporate taxes are for the business itself,
right? But
Well,
their business's income, right? They pay tax on their income.
businesses will pay tax on their income,
Right.
and you pay somebody no different than me and you.
Yeah.
If whatever company we work for, they pay taxes on the income that they have, we get paid, and then we pay taxes on that
So
income.
you want to lower the rate for the corporations, but we're going to keep the rate high for individuals? Is that your
Yeah.
plan?
Yeah, because at that
doesn't
rate.
seem right.
But if I'm saying a corporation, if we're talking about Apple has $140 billion sitting off in another country offshore, and I can say, you know what, I'll cut your tax rate to this, but you have to do this. And the reason I like that idea for me is because one, you get, even if you don't get all the money, you get some of the money back within the country. Not only that, but if you stipulate they have to create jobs, now you have more people paying taxes. So at that point, you can hopefully make up the remaining balance, if not all of it, at least most of it. But even if you don't make up all of it, now you've got more jobs in the country. Now you have, whether it's manufacturing or whatever it may be. But I agree, there has to be a stipulation, and there has to be a difference between just doing taxes for corporations and taxes for the rich people. Because I'm with you on
Yeah,
that.
I don't know. I mean, I look around. I don't see like tax burden being a big problem. I just don't see it. I don't think we need all these big tax cuts that we're talking about. You know, you're going to see Trump implement tax cuts, but they're not going to be for people like us. They're not going to be, they're going to be for people like him. That's who
And
the tax cuts are going to be.
if he's trying to do trickle down economics, I'm with you. It won't work.
He's talking trickle down. He's not going to be an economist. He wants to reduce tax burdens on
Okay,
rich
and what
people.
evidence do you have of that? What specifically are you making reference to that he said that gives you that impression?
That's a good point, because I'm not going to point to any specific things. It's kind of just a general feeling I've had.
So it's a feeling,
What he's gonna
not based
do.
on facts, but
And
based on a
it's-
feeling.
Yeah, and well, it's kind of based
So
on
how can you argue about-
Republicans in general? I think that the
But we're
Republican
talking about a
agenda in general.
But we're
is
talking
to
about a candidate-
decrease taxes on rich people and increase taxes on poor people. I think you could say that that's a true statement.
But again, we're talking about a candidate the likes of we've never seen before. He's not
You
being,
should come back in 90 days and see.
and I don't.
All right, but I guarantee you,
Well,
his first
maybe
thing,
not 90.
his first order of business is going to be cutting taxes for what? Guaranteed.
Yeah, but she's like.
That's gonna be the first thing he does when
That's
he gets
going
in
to be
office.
his first order of business. His first
So
legislation.
not the
his first
economy,
thing-
but
it's going to be
cutting
tied to the
taxes.
economy, but guaranteed it's going to be tax cuts for the rich, wealthy people. Guaranteed.
And
That's coming.
again, what are you basing that on? Is it just a feeling? Because, and I think that's a lot of the
It's a feeling.
problem with.
It's a feeling, but I think it's a feeling that's correct.
Well, I'm looking at most of his campaign promises, and to me, that would be the first order of business based on what he could actually potentially do and have backing
And
behind
we're going to
it.
get support, right?
Yeah,
It's going to be the
like
Republican
a lot
agenda.
of the things that he said that he wanted to do in office. That to me, he wants to do a tax cut where the top 1% would benefit the most.
Yeah, let's look at that actually. Let's go.
And you know what? And I've told you that's trickle down economics, and I've already said that won't work because we've tried that before.
But I think it,
But that's what you're asking for right now.
But
You
that's-
just said you want corporations to have lower tax
No,
rates. so
trickle
they'll-
down economics is
But
based
you-
upon the
your
rich
notion-
but
getting the
he's-
taxes,
but he's
not the
saying-
No, trickle
corporations.
down economics could be in a corporation or whatever.
But-
Your notion of
but-
reducing taxes to
But did you
force
not
them to hire
understand-
people is trickle down economics.
But did you not understand? I'm attaching something to it. So it's not just carte blanche, I'm going to cut the taxes, you don't have to do anything, and I'm hoping that you do. And I think that's where you're having the confusion of what I'm saying, is no matter how many times I've said, you know what, it is the corporations. Matter of fact, I would get rid of a whole almost personal income taxes altogether and have taxes on more of just
Consumption tax.
consumption tax. And the reason being is because now you can slide down the IRS, which, yes, you're losing jobs there. But hopefully you can make those up in other places. Now you have just businesses collecting taxes, and you don't have to have the big IRS that you have now because it's just businesses and not personal taxes.
Here it is. Trump's plan, which has huge tax cuts for businesses and the rich, emphasizes growth. It would inject $4.6 trillion into the economy. Sorry, I'm just looking at Forbes here real quick. Over 10 years, mostly by means of business tax cuts. This would be supply side economics, which you could do.
See, again, and most of it is business.
That's his plan.
Most of it
He's got
is
big,
business.
Big tax
stuff.
cuts are planned with Trump.
But again, it's business. Now, I would be interested in the specifics of what he's trying to do for business, which is, okay, if I'm cutting it down to 15%, which if I'm even between 15 and 14%, if I'm correct, that is the business tax rate from the average of the rest of the world.
He wants to cut the business corporate tax rate by half.
And it's
15%.
like, yeah, so it's like, okay, 30% right now. So 15%, if I'm correct, is what it is around the world. If you cut it to that, my only thing is, I don't mind you cutting it. I appreciate you cutting that to that. But it's not a carte blanche for corporations to not do something with that with the rest of that money.
Because we all know that if you give me the tax break,
And you say,
chances
use
are,
it here,
right. Chances are they're going to take it and run with
they're
it.
gonna take it and run with it. And I'm with you. That is not what I want. I think that's what we have to look at. What this election was about. It was about Hillary and the
He wants to
establishment.
repeal the alternative minimum tax. He's going to have 3 tax break brackets: 12%, 25%, 33%. Sorry, I'm just reading that.
Oh no. And
He's repealing the estate tax. It's another part of his plan.
which
His exemption personally is going to be $10 million by repealing the estate tax by itself, just for him. Just so you know. So
Okay.
you talk about
And
like
again-
his personal benefits. He thinks he's going to do changing our tax code to benefit him and his family. Like that's a good example right there.
okay,
$10
that's
million.
one. $10 million.
Yeah.
But if I can create thousands of jobs, and granted, he
I thought
makes
you said
billions.
supply side economics doesn't work.
He presents millions and billions of dollars he makes. This is not necessarily supply side
I mean, sorry,
economics.
all right.
I'm talking about
Trickle-down economics.
Trickle-down economics. If he's giving tax breaks just for the rich and not businesses, his thing is to mostly, as you read, mostly give tax breaks to the businesses, cutting it down to 15%.
And to the rich.
But it says mostly to businesses. And as long as he does it to businesses, and we can create
The estate
jobs,
tax. Do you think that's for businesses or who's that for?
that's
Those
for
are for
personal.
rich. They're for rich people.
It's not just rich people
Do
that
you have
have
an estate? Do you have an estate? When
small
you die,
one.
like if
When
they
I
get rid of
do,
the
I
estate
have.
tax, is it, you know?
Yeah, but my
Like,
kids won't have
it's
to
rich
pay that.
people, dude. It's who have estate.
But it's not just rich people
Yeah,
because
it is, dude.
it's
You know,
not.
it's also farmers. It's a lot of farmers too. But it's mostly
So it's not just
mostly
rich people, because if
dude,
you have an
estate
estate-
taxes are rich people and farmers. Like look it up. Okay, it's not
Go
poor
ahead, look it up
people.
for me. Look
Dude,
it up,
poor
estate
people don't
taxes.
pay estate taxes.
Because do they create estates? Do they have anything to
Yeah,
leave?
it's- Right? It's a rich person's tax. That's
It's
what it
not.
is.
Because
An
if
estate
I have
tax,
something to leave my kids and I create an estate for them,
taxing
once
estates
once
is
they
taxing
leave,
the wealthy.
once I leave, they would have to pay an estate tax on what I left them. But I'm not rich like Donald Trump. So are you saying that
An estate tax.
that if I have an estate tax, that because I'm not rich, my kids
I'm
deserve to
saying
pay an
estate
estate tax?
taxes are a way to tax the wealthy. And he's talking about getting rid of it. That's what I'm saying.
But the problem with that is, it doesn't just affect the wealthy. If you're saying something,
You're right.
and-
It affects farmers
It,
too.
it would affect anyone who has an estate. But
Right.
the
Anybody.
wealthy, but,
Anyone has an
but the
estate.
wealthy would get the best benefits.
because they have more money.
Exactly.
But it doesn't. But you still are affecting people who have an estate. So you can't, based upon that, you can't say it's only for rich people. It's not.
It's for rich
It's
people.
for people who have an
I'm trying to
estate.
tell you. I'm
But
gonna
because
tell you,
of the amount of
I'm
money,
going to tell you that the Republican tax agenda is for rich people. I'm going to say that categorically. It's to benefit the rich, and anything else is nonsense. That's what
so
I'm
you would have
saying.
rather had
I'm gonna
Hillary
stand by
and
that.
what she was saying.
I don't care Hillary, Trump, whatever. I'm just saying the right-wing tax cut agenda is to benefit the wealthy. Period. That's all I'm saying. And I don't support
Personal
that. And I
or-
don't personal, corporate, doesn't matter.
Well,
all of it.
if you do a
it's to
corporate
benefit
tax
wealthy.
cut,
It's that simple for me.
I'm
That's
good
the
with
way I
that
look
if you
at
have
it.
stipulation to it. If you try to do a corporate tax cut down to 15% without saying any kind of stipulation, then I think it's wrong because
When
as
we live in a country where the top 1% owns like 30% of the assets or something, and we're not
Okay.
going to tax them when they pass that down. Like that seems really, really unfair to me.
but then when I give my estate to my kids,
What a state! Like you know what I mean?
whether it's
not
taxes, the houses, the house I may own, when I put that in the state and give that to them, is it right for them to have to pay taxes? So,
Yeah,
granted, are you
it is.
looking at?
It's
So
totally
it's okay
wrong.
for them, but
I think it's
something
okay.
that benefits or hurts everybody.
Well, I got to pay tax on my income, right? Yeah. So, why shouldn't you pay tax on your state? It's
So
income for
because
you,
the
right?
rich benefit and I benefit as well, you want to make it where I benefit and the rich don't.
Well, I guess the better question
I want to
is,
make it where our
is
government has enough money to function, and that we have enough money to fund social programs. That we use taxes in ways that can benefit people who don't have money. You know, like the way we've been doing things. I think it's good.
So you're okay with the status quo
I
is the
like
problem.
Social Security. I like Medicare.
Well, no, I think to his point, right?
I like
I'm
food
listening-
stamps. I like welfare. I like government programs to help poor people. I like after-school programs. I like school lunch programs. I like government programs that promote growth. You know, whatever, any government program.
Okay,
I like
so
that.
where does all of that money come
So,
from?
but look. I think what I'm hearing from both sides is you're on the stance of this is what I would like my president to do, and this is how I think he could effectively get it done to where I can be happy. On Joe's side, he's saying, I think that his motive for doing this is to help the wealthy. It's a personal incentive for himself to make these changes, and I get it. I think if you guys slow down and look at it, I think he could agree with you and say, yeah, in a perfect world, yeah, let's
But
have
that's my point though, is I don't think he wants to see it that way. And I'm giving him enough points to be able to say, you know what? And you're absolutely correct in the fact that if we go from 30 to 15, but we don't have any stipulation of where it needs to go, I'm against that. Because we've had trickle down trickle down economics where we say, okay, whether it's a corporation or an individual, and I'm not going to even deal with the
The
individual.
rich aren't paying their fair
Hold on, man.
share
Hold
right
on.
now.
I'll let you talk, man. I'll let you talk.
All right.
The corporation, if you can have it where it's not trickle down economics, and what it is that I'll give you this tax break, but this is what has to happen. It's no different. Hold on. It's no different than an if-then mathematical equation. If this happens, then this does not happen. Then this happens. But if doesn't happen, then the then cannot happen. So if hold on. I'm talking.
Let him finish,
Yeah.
and then I want to say something.
I'm talking about businesses having a tax cut, and then there is a stipulation. Now, we're talking about, as Calvin so funny put it, you're talking about what the Republicans you feel they may do, and you're asking me about what I want to see. And we're talking about tax cuts and how they can be beneficial to get the programs that you're looking at. You cut it down from 30 to 15, you employ more people, you have taxes still coming in from those other people, so now you've gotten this 15% tax cut, you still got 15% coming in, now you've created more jobs because of the fact that you're saying, I'm not giving you carte blanche. It's no different than when Obama used the bailout with the company and said, if I give you this is what you have to do. If you don't want the money, then don't do what I'm asking you to do. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying, and I'm not even dealing with rich people. You know what? Do they deserve to pay more taxes? Yeah, they do. Then let's close
That's not what's going to happen.
Okay.
So from what I took what Devon was saying, I want you to look at if Devon was president and this was what he wanted to implement, do you think what he's saying is a good idea?
I think it's a good idea for rich people. I mean, I really do. I think it's great. If you're wealthy, I think your tax program's awesome.
So if
you know what I mean? If you own a corporation, that's awesome. If you're a poor person in America, if you're making minimum wage, I think your program sucks. That's what I think. I really believe that. I think.
Okay, why?
Because
I
think when you look at the distribution of wealth in America and the shifts in it over the last 30, 40, 50 years, the rich have been getting richer. They're getting a bigger slice of the pie. They're shifting to the wealthy people. They're paying less in taxes, and the rest of us are paying the taxes. We're paying tons of tax. You know?
I think what he's trying to say is that we really don't have a stepping stone right now to where if we did enact that sort of policy where we would still get ahead. Because to me, it's like the corporations already have the money. The wealthy already have the money. They're getting the tax rate just like us, but they have more money to where it's actually benefiting them more than it's benefiting us.
Okay, so let's leave the rich people out. Let's just deal with corporations. And this is maybe what I'm not understanding. If I'm giving the company a 15% tax break, and I'm saying, okay, I'll give you this tax break, but you have to hire more people. How is that not helping the middle class? Because you're hiring middle class
I
people.
don't know. That sounds.
So how is that not helping the middle class? If I'm saying, hey, if I'll give you this 15% cut, but you have to hire, you have to create more jobs. And then,
initially that was the topic of the conversation,
Because-
was creating more jobs and how do you create more jobs.
and
You
that's
give
what
them
I
a
stuck
tax
to the whole
cut
conversation.
because that's what he wants to do with
Well, we created a bunch of jobs in the last
tax.
2 years without tax cuts. I don't see that. I don't know that we need that.
But we've created those jobs, but it have increased our debt by $10 trillion. So the government is borrowing more
That's
money.
connected right to the jobs.
That is
debt?
because you
I don't
create,
understand.
let's take the
I feel
bailout.
like we're like jumping all over the
No,
place.
let's take the
That's
bailout.
not
I'll take the
connected.
bailout. Let's take the bailout with Obama. He got that money from the government, gave it to the businesses. And therefore, if the banks didn't pay it back, that's like defaulting on a loan to the government. So that means we're still,
They did pay back.
most of them paid it back. There are some where if you look at it, AIG, they sent that money out of the country and didn't pay that back. So that means you
But they
have to
got a
look
lot
at
of it back from the individual, a lot of the companies. That
and
got
we're
back.
still
They got a lot of the money
$10
back.
trillion more in debt
So are you
than
trying to
when
say that-
Obama
Did
did
that
it.
debt come from jobs, or did it maybe come from like the war or some other stuff? Like where'd the debt come
It comes from a.
You
If
know,
you
like-
look, I'm going to tell you. If you look at on our Facebook page, I have a great article on there where it says $2 trillion of it is China that they own. You have,
But it didn't come from creating jobs, did it? Like you seem to have a connection between the
if
decrease in unemployment and the increase in debt. Like the two are connected somehow. And I don't know. I'm not an economist. You know what I mean? But I feel like we're jumping all over the place.
but we're not, because of the fact that you're saying you didn't see any tax cuts, and the reason you didn't see any tax cuts is because they were borrowing more money. Which, if you look at it, when he came into office, we're about $10 trillion in debt.
I don't understand. So there wasn't tax cuts, and then we had to borrow money. So what if wouldn't it be the other way around? Like if we have tax cuts, then wouldn't we need to borrow more money? Like
Not
that's
necessarily.
gonna decrease our debt by cutting taxes. I don't see the
Here we go.
connection. there.
I'll tell you why. Because one, we're not borrowing any more money. Two, and I think you're missing my point, which is that 15% we would lose from the corporation. Let's say everything stayed the way it was. We're still $20 trillion in debt versus saying, okay, you know what? I want to cut the
So
corporate
if we
taxes.
cut the taxes, that's going to pay off the debt.
Here we go. Let me cut the corporate taxes. You're talking about creating jobs. Let me cut the corporate taxes.
So
Tell the
creating the
companies,
jobs pays off the
tell the
debt.
companies, hey, you know what? Let's do this here. I'm giving you away, and I'm not an economist either. But I'm saying if you do that and create the jobs, you're not taking money out of the fund and saying, you know what? I'm gonna give this state $2 trillion and say, okay, you guys go and hire more people for infrastructure.
So you're basically saying that the money that we borrowed was the money to create jobs.
Yeah. And so that's what has been happening versus if you say, I'm at 30%, I'm gonna cut it down to 15%, and then I'm gonna make a stipulation to the corporations, all right, you wanna keep that 15% tax cut, I want you to hire people. And to your point, I want that to help the middle class. So I don't understand how you're not seeing what I'm saying as far as, you know what, with the 30% tax cut down to 15, and then hiring more people within the United States. Maybe I didn't make the United States part clear. And saying, okay, you know what, let's take Apple. They got $140 billion sitting outside the country. They bring that, they only have to pay 15% tax rate on that, but then use the remainder to create new jobs. And yes, people are out, you have middle class getting better jobs. And so therefore,
if we give Apple a 15% pay cut or tax cut, they're going to create more
see,
jobs.
this is what you're missing.
But you said that they're already getting a 15% tax cut.
No, I said based upon
overseas.
what they were saying. That's why the money is out of this country.
Okay.
It's because they're
I'm
making
just trying
less.
to get
They're
the
doing
connection.
less money over there. And what we have to do is bring the money back into this country. And that's what Trump is trying to figure out. I don't know how he's going to do it or anything like that. Okay, I can't tell you that. The conversation was merely started on the question of, if it were you, how would you do it? And I stuck to that particular portion of the conversation, whereas it's been, you said, well, the Republicans are going to do this. And the reason I'm fighting you on that is because that's not the original conversation. The original conversation was, how would you do it? And for me,
how would you do what?
how would you create jobs? That was the original
That was
question.
my question, right?
And we got all off into, the Republicans ain't gonna do this.
How do you create these jobs?
And that's where I began to
Which
tell you, this is
talked
how I
about
would do it.
Like you said, I don't think, presidents can create jobs. Businesses create jobs,
You're absolutely correct, and that's why that's why You give them the 15% tax cut and said, I will let you have that tax cut
Well,
if
this, but
you
like-
do this,
But
which
like,
is
we
creating
already
jobs.
have all these jobs created in the past.
But we
without
got
tax
$20
cuts.
trillion
So I'm
in
just
debt, so
wondering-
we're
I'm just
borrowing
wondering.
more money.
I don't know that we have to cut taxes to create the jobs. I'm not sure we're going to do that.
Okay, so
I think unemployment's been going down and down pretty consistently. It seems like
So
jobs are
unemployment's
every month,
going down.
I consistently hear 100, 200,000 jobs added every month when I hear the job numbers or whatever. They seem like they're going up. And I'm just saying we're seeing that without these tax cuts. So I don't.
But are
I
you
still,
paying attention
I
to-
still don't understand why supposedly we have to have tax cuts to create jobs. I don't think it's necessarily true, based on not getting tax cuts in the last 8 or 10 years and still seeing,
But-
jobs being created. So,
But
I'm
the
just saying, I
national
don't
debt
think
has
that.
gone up $10 trillion.
I
We
don't
borrow
care
more
about the
money.
national debt. We're talking
See,
about
that's the
jobs.
problem, though.
But you keep going over the national debt like we're just talking about jobs. Like
But the national
unemployment's
debt,
going
if
down.
I
don't
have to
understand.
borrow more money, let's take,
You
for
don't have to
example,
borrow money.
if
I think the large part of the money that's been borrowed was for the war. That's my understanding.
not
It wasn't
necessarily.
really. I thought that's what we were borrowing money for the last 10 years in America.
Which,
It was
then
to
that means
fund the
8 years
war.
was under Obama, and that's why it's increased.
I thought that's what our.
But you
how
can't
we got
have-
it. I don't know. I'd love to look at the numbers, but I'm pretty sure what's driven our debt has been military spending, not job creation. I'm pretty sure. And maybe
Yeah, I'm
spending
no
money
fuzzy
on the
on that, but
military,
I
maybe
don't
that
have the
creates
facts,
jobs
so I
too. It
can't.
probably does create some jobs. But like the notion that we took out all this debt, like the government took the debt to create the jobs.
Here you go.
think-
You know what?
I
I'll
don't-
give you a prime
I
example.
don't think it's true.
Here we go. I'll give you a prime example, and hopefully this you understand it this way. You have a line of credit, 10 grand, right? You take that. You starting a business. You take that full line of credit out, 10 grand, and now you're employing people. But granted, you've created jobs, but you are 10 grand in debt, and now you got to try to reduce that. No different than our federal government. They borrowed and borrowed and borrowed to pay for this,
For what?
to pay for jobs. However, they make, like for example,
But, I mean,
you
that's
have
what I mean,
some
keep saying
where,
that, dude. Like, how does the government pay for jobs? I don't get that.
okay, whether you give that money to states to hire people to do the highways. That's how they're paying those highway workers, not by state money that was created, but by federal money that is being given to them to create those jobs. No different than you taking out 10 grand loan and saying, okay, I'm gonna create jobs. I got 10 grand, I'm 10 grand in debt, but I created some jobs. But you're in debt, and if you go too far in debt, eventually you'll lose those
I think
jobs.
you could go in debt to create jobs, but
We
I don't
are $20
necessarily.
billion
But
in
I
debt.
don't think that that's what we did. And I mean, I don't know. But, I'd like to see those numbers before I said that.
So are you saying it's not even possible? Because
No, it is
you're saying
possible.
that
I mean, I
by
think
the way
the
you're
notion that if a company has to pay less in tax, if the company has more money, there is a chance that the company will spend that money on payroll, hiring more people. But they could easily not do it too.
See,
you
again,
know what I mean?
I think you've missed my whole point. I think you've missed my whole point because you don't want to hear what I'm saying.
No. What
Because, because I'm saying you're missing the if-then part,
I'm missing the what part?
the if-then part,
Okay.
and I can't say the point.
If you cut their taxes, then they'll hire people. No, is that not the if then? What's the
See,
if then?
you missed it.
Okay.
You missed it. Because here you didn't hear my if-then, did you?
I guess
I
not.
said 30% down to 15.
Okay. So if you cut it,
If I cut your taxes, this is what you have to do
you
with the
have
money.
to, okay.
That's what I've been saying this whole
Okay,
time.
that's right.
That's what I've been saying the whole time. I mean, haven't I been saying that the whole time? And you're saying, well, trickle down economics doesn't work. I know, that's why I said.
So it's only
if
for companies like you're only going to pay. half
you'll
of
pay
your taxes
15%
if
taxes.
you add jobs.
Right. Here's the
Isn't that what I've been saying the last hour?
I don't know how that would work. I'm trying to think that through real quick.
Otherwise, you pay
If you
30% tax. And I mean, you didn't hear me saying, okay, if you pay 30%, I'm 15, you hire, if you do this, I'll give you this tax cut, but, did I not say but now somewhere? But you have to hire these people.
Well, I guess that would create jobs if you did it that way. I mean, if it
And
was,
his whole
if
thing
you
was
forced it.
it's killing two birds with one stone.
But
Because
you'd
it is-
also, by the same token, you'd also be reducing government income which would probably force the government to cut some jobs.
No, I
So
thought
there might
in your
be a-
eyes you
there
were
might be
thinking
you know what I mean? Because
reduce the cut, but increase the
Is
income you
that
get by
really
having more people pay taxes.
I'm not. I guess I'm not convinced those are net new jobs. I guess based on what, because if the government has less money, the government's spending
But
less
did
money
you,
on
did you,
government.
did you not hear what I said though?
What's that?
If you cut the 15%, they hire more people. Those
that-
people are paying taxes.
Income, but not the companies. The
They're
companies
paying
not
income taxes. But you have more people paying income taxes, which goes where? To the federal and the state government. So whether you have a corporation paying less, you have more people paying personal taxes.
You just got to make
Yeah, you
sure
know,
that
I
the
like
money,
your plan.
the
if it's
percentage.
that specific. I don't know how it would
You
work.
just have to make sure that you balance out the percentage of the cut, so that the more people employed paying taxes are actually putting the government in the red.
And you know what? And like I said, it is more of, and these are just the numbers, playing around with the numbers. And it would be playing around with the numbers. You know what? Maybe it's not 15, maybe it's 16. You know, maybe it is a little bit higher percentage. Maybe not 15, but maybe 17. But the original thought would be there, which is, if we do this, and you have to do this. And that would be the only way that I would say yes. Corporate tax rates can create jobs. Because back to what you said, the president can't create no jobs. It is the companies that have to create the jobs. So,
And you know, I think the president can create some jobs, like within the government, right? They can create government jobs.
yeah, we got to borrow
You know?
money to do
No,
that.
but
Or,
it's just
or
the
borrow money,
president.
or have tax revenue, or have
But
some
the
money
president
somewhere.
can force the hand somehow. And what better way than to propose tax cuts that will allow jobs to be created?
And that's, and even with that, I think the thing that I really want to focus in on are the fact that I think we're talking about the wrong thing in the first place. And what I mean by that is this here. I think when it came to this election, it was, we're always trying to break each other down as far as, we're trying to categorize people. Whether it's whites, blacks, Latinos, Asians, or whoever it is, or age groups. And I understand it's demographics. When you're
Really, we
advertising,
just categorize this in Democrats and Republicans, right? You know what I mean? In the election. I mean, that's
You know
what
what?
those are the real categories.
and I even hate that. Because you get people who are fighting about, well, I'm a Republican, I don't care who it is I'm voting for. Well, that's not right. Vote for that. And that's why I hate the way that the corporations are able to give money to campaigns. So I agree. Campaign refund we need.
Yeah.
Because it shouldn't be a corporation get this whole bunch of money to Hillary or Donald Trump and say, okay, I gave you a lot of money. In 2008 and 2012, Obama spent $1 billion each election getting elected and reelected. This one here, they didn't spend as much. They spent $1 billion, but primary and general election. That's a lot of money. I mean, what could we have done with that?
A lot of jobs, I think.
For real.
Well, I mean, a lot of jobs were created probably in the spending. Whatever
Probably
they,
not.
You don't think?
No, because it probably went to
Advertising.
advertising.
Those great advertising jobs, right?
I don't know about that.
Anytime.
no,
I think
no.
anytime you spend money, man, you create jobs. Typically.
Probably not the amount. Probably not the amount that you would want. I mean, and they were only temporary jobs to begin with. If you
Yeah.
were looking at campaigns.
So now we're gonna see a.
At the end of the day, you're spending money like someone's getting for it's a job for somebody and you spend money, typically.
You know what? Then I'm more concerned about long-term job growth. Maybe that's the difference between me and you. Is that you see, well, they spend some money. They got a job for what? Maybe a year, possibly 2. And let's not even talk about the ones that come on 6 months into it, so they got a job for 6 months. I want to make sure people have the ability to have a life. You know, be with the company 10, 20, 30 years. Not just a year or 2 and say and think that's
Maybe It
good.
sounds like you want minimum wage to increase.
You know, back to the money being spent on campaigns. I don't think they necessarily create jobs. I
They
think
don't.
the jobs that are available, people tend to take a little bit more money. I mean, when you think of a venue of where they hold, someone, Donald or Hillary comes to Concord, and she's going to be talking here in Total Santos. I'm pretty sure there's already people who are employed to work Total Santos. They're just going to get paid a little bit more because of the campaign coming in, right? If they go to Oracle Arena, there's already people who work for Oracle. It just means, hey, I might get overtime because I'm going to be spending a lot of time setting Oracle up, right? I don't think it creates as many jobs as we think in a way that we Americans would want jobs to be created. I mean, don't get me wrong. At some point, spending money is going to create jobs, but I think it's going to create a limited amount of jobs around Hillary, right? I'm going to hire 30 people to help on my campaign, right? But a lot of that money is going to go to people who's already working. They're just going to make a little bit more because of their connections to the campaign, right? You got to think of all the avenues, right? She's over at the Concord Pavilion. There's already people employed there. Just means I'm going to be working a lot more hours. I'm going to get paid a decent amount that maybe I don't, because maybe we have a concert, once every 3 weeks. I don't work there, so I don't know what the schedule's like, but I could assume, like, hey, campaign's coming here, I'm going to get paid. That means I'm going to be working. That means I'm going to have some hours under my belt. Maybe under the campaign itself, there's 30 jobs created, but nothing noteworthy. At least I don't think so.
Yeah, I know. And I appreciate the discussion. I love it. Because of the fact that we can still come and have difference of opinion. And I think the key thing for whether it's us or anybody watching is to be able to listen to the other person and understand where the other person is coming from. No different than just me and you. Whether I wasn't hearing what you were saying or you weren't hearing what I was saying, it creates exactly what we had, which is, hey, hold on, listen. And I think that's one of the things that we want to have with this show is teach people. And granted, yeah, we are teaching people by the mistakes that we make here. Hey, listen to each other. Whether it's me not hearing what you were saying,
and we're going to get a lot of chances to talk about it because who's doing tax cuts.
You know what?
That's all you're going to hear about in the next 6 months is the Republican tax plan.
Well, anyone is going to want to focus on tax cuts. That makes more money in my pocket. I think to your point,
assuming that the
is
tax
what
brackets are for your demographic.
Well, I was going to say, to your point, is who's the tax cuts whose benefit is the tax cut for?
That's what we got to ask.
And I'll accept that. I'll accept if it's not for.
That's what we should ask.
And that's why I didn't really do the personal
who's
tax
doing
cut.
it and who's benefiting it.
Because in order to fix that, I think you have to fix the tax laws themselves, which allow for.
Like when you hear about Trump, he hasn't paid any tax. He hasn't paid his income taxes.
I know, no.
17 years of no tax, and he comes to be the president, and this is what he wants to do is cut taxes.
Let me ask you a question.
It seems ridiculous.
Is that his fault that he used the law to the fullest extent, or is it the law's fault?
We talked about this before, dude. He wrote off his business partner's expenses.
Okay, here we go.
Like I'm going to tell you that.
If he did that,
that's all I had to hear to say that
that's wrong.
That's shady. Right?
Here we go. But if he's doing I'm going to take just his. I'm not going to deal with it. If he does just his, right?
I mean, no. If he doesn't to answer your question, no. If he used our tax code to get out of his taxes, good for him. But
and that's all I'm saying. Is that
if he did that, I think he would have showed his taxes. If there wasn't something shady there, I think he would put it out.
I would say the bigger shame is on the people who have allowed him to get away with what he's doing.
Which is the tax laws themselves. And even Warren Buffett came out and said that, you know what? It's a shame that I'm paying this amount of taxes and it's probably less than my secretary. As far as percentage-wise are concerned.
He's talking about how our tax system in America benefits the wealthy, not your average person.
If you have that
much
much money,
that is? Because our tax laws were written by wealthy people.
I'm not arguing with you about that.
I mean, that's just the way the system's set up.
And when you have somebody like Warren Buffett worth what, $60 billion, and he's saying something wrong.
He gave it all away, right?
No, he ain't gave it all away. Before he died.
I'm pretty sure he gave it all away.
I mean, he's still like number 2 or 3 richest, so clearly he ain't gave it all away.
No,
but to my point,
he's done like a pact to give all his.
Yeah, but to my point, here we go. But I don't want to get too far away from what we're trying to stay on top of that. To my point being, it's wrong that they don't pay their fair share. And that I'm not going to debate with you about, because there is no debate. But that's not their fault. It is clearly the way that I'm not going to say it's our fault.
It's our fault for not changing the tax code.
Okay, I'll accept
for not
that.
making it fair. For not making the rich and the wealthy and the corporations pay their fair share in America. It's our fault as voters.
I would say especially
we're not
from a
controlling
personal
our own government. Okay.
I would say especially on a personal level, because those loopholes should have been gone a long time ago. I mean, we're at the point. I mean, they should have been gone a long
They're all
time ago.
there for like people who have stuff.
And I will, and I'll
like,
concede that one too.
On years when I haven't paid any taxes, there were years when I dumped all kinds of money in my 401k, and when I had a mortgage, and I had a few kids, and
but
you know what I mean? When you have all these write-offs,
but you use the taxes to your advantage.
Yeah, but
so
like,
is it
who
wrong?
wrote those tax codes to make it to my advantage? How come I'm paying no tax, but maybe Calvin is paying tax? Because Calvin didn't fund a 401k and didn't have a mortgage, and didn't have 3 kids. So therefore, he should have to pay a bunch of tax, and that I get a break because I'm not. You know what I mean?
Well, I would say.
I look at it like that's unfair. And the codes are they're out there to benefit people who have stuff. The tax code is written to benefit the haves.
Well, let's pick what you were talking about right there. You know what? You got a house, 2 kids, 3 kids, and in my opinion, and we'd have to look up and see what it's about. I think what the tax rate was made for in that specific case is that, okay, you have a family you need to support and so on and so forth, whereas this person is single. So we're giving more priority and more deductions to the family. So, you got kids, you got to put through college, so on and so forth. And a house, being able to deduct the interest.
You don't get a break for that.
Well, being able to deduct the interest rate off of the house. Okay, you know what, guys? I'm giving you some money back because...
But here, why do I get a break as an interest, but the person who pays rent, my next door neighbor that pays rent, doesn't get a break? Like, why is that? Why is it that you penalize the guy who doesn't have shit over the guy who does? You know what I mean? Like, that's the way our tax code is, man. It's designed to benefit the haves. It's designed to benefit the wealthy. It's designed to benefit corporations. And it's designed to screw over your average, like, low-income earner. The person who earns below average income. But those people are getting screwed.
As you stated earlier, are you rich?
Like, everyone bitches and complains about immigrants, man. Like
language.
I used to sell payroll. And, everyone says, like, oh, immigrants don't pay taxes. It's nonsense. I used to work for this company. I used to sell payroll to companies that hire tons of illegal immigrants. And they would hand us, they always had to give me all the important information, like Social Security numbers, names, all that stuff, the tax deductions and all that stuff with the W-2. Right. And a lot of times they'd have the same Social Security number. It'd be like 5, 6 guys all using the same Social Security number. Like, I guess my point was, even the illegal immigrants were still paying tax. They were still having taxes deducted out of their paychecks, just like everybody else. They just probably weren't filing a tax return at the end of the year and getting a tax refund. Or maybe they were.
Or even maybe not owing. But again, those are...
No, I don't know. Why would they not owe? I mean, they're getting the taxes taken out of their check just like you are. You know what I mean?
Why would they owe?
Why would they? I think it's not.
Or why they get a refund, or if they knew they were getting a refund, I'm sure they would. But I'm sure
nobody typically owes. If you're when you're having a deduction taken out of your check every month, you don't typically owe. Usually it's a refund. If you're doing it right? If you're having the right deduction taken out, typically.
If you're having the right amount, I would say okay. But
and it varies obviously because our code's so complicated.
And it does vary. And I think the thing that we have to be cognizant of is the fact that we want it fair for everybody. And I'm all for that. It's just a matter of how do you do that. You know what? Do you put preference over families to a single person? And I understand your point, which is, you know what? It's not right just because I got 2 kids in the house that I get more money back than this single person does.
I kind of like your notion of a consumption tax. That would be kind of fair.
Because it'd be...
Maybe you make things fair that way. But
it'd be easy.
To be done right,
it'd be easy, and like I said, you wouldn't have to have the IRS dealing with.
You'd still have to have
200-300 million people.
You'd still have to have some kind of authority to manage it.
Oh no!
There's always going to be checks and balances.
No, it would be the IRS, but you wouldn't have to have. Well, the statistics you read earlier was 100 million of the registered voted people didn't vote, so we got about 230 million people. I'm gonna say between the ages of 18 and higher. So that particular, I just lost my train of thought.
Much.
Some about the tax revenue, maybe, or how much they would generate.
You know what? Yeah, with 230 million people, it makes it harder for the IRS because you got a whole lot more paperwork coming in and so on and so forth. Versus if you eliminate the income tax, granted you probably still have property taxes, stuff like that for the state, but you eliminate the income tax, now you're only dealing with businesses that you have to collect taxes from, which makes it easier.
Makes it easier.
It makes it a lot easier. And it makes it
citizens.
easier on citizens as well.
Does it? Payroll's pretty easy.
That's what
I mean, that's a
Well,
easy
no,
way
but
to-
the
it's an easy way.
IRS,
But the IRS
would have to
portion.
focus on so many things. They would have to focus on the populace.
Well, they're still going to have to
plus-
focus on whatever our new thing is, right? If it's transactional based or whatever it is.
But still- it's still going through the
it's
business.
consumption tax, so it's all based off.
It's all going through the
so you're only
business.
focusing on business.
So whatever the taxes the business collect, whether it's 10, 15%, that's state taxes, government taxes.
There's probably a lot of ways to,
And-
shake
and
it out in different ways. But
there
at the end of the day, right now, the burden is downstream. You know what I mean?
I agree
And
with you totally.
That needs to shift. You know? It
I
needs to
agree with you
move
totally.
back. Like, we don't need to have tax codes that help out rich people. In a world where the top 1% of our population owns, we should look at the exact number, but it's like,
No, no, it's
50% of
pretty
the
bad.
wealth.
It's pretty bad.
I mean, when you look at the distribution, it's not fair. And if you went back to the 1950s in America, it was different. You know what I mean? The people had a bigger piece of the pie.
Well,
it's changed, and that I
the
think
question
it's
would be
the tax code and things that have allowed it to
the question would
shift
be
that.
why has it changed?
It's
And-
because of all the things we're just saying. How the system benefits the rich. It's perpetuating itself by them not paying. Look at the Donald Trumps of the world. I mean,
No, I'm not going.
He's not going to pay tax for 17 years. Everyone
It was
talks
a lot
about
of money.
everyone talks about how he's this big billionaire and shit.
Which
Right? He's a
Language!
a multi-billionaire that can't pay income tax. I mean, how is that fair?
You know
when
what?
your average guy who works at McDonald's is paying fucking. Excuse me. It's the average person at McDonald's is paying plenty of income tax. You know what I mean?
Well,
It's just not fair.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is you have the average Joe who's doing the right
I
thing.
represent the Joe reference. I represent the Joe reference.
You have the average Joe doing the right thing, but you have Donald Trump not doing the right thing, and no one's doing anything about him not doing the right thing, right?
Well,
it even goes back to Hillary,
And if anything, he's
right?
gonna-
Hillary's done all these things, but where's the accountability? And if it was me,
one thing you can
if
say
it
about
was
her, she
me,
pays her taxes, right? She released all her tax returns, she's paid taxes. She didn't. She didn't have a 17-year cap. about paying
look at
income
my
tax,
situation with my job, right? If it was anybody else, you could you could see there's people in the store that maybe wouldn't have had it as bad as I had, right? But because it's me, right? I was easily able to be picked off. But there are other people in the store that you could look at and say, well, if that person did the same thing, maybe the consequences would have been so severe, right?
You think? I mean, I don't know. It seems like it was above.
I think
people in the
I
store's
think
call.
there's a few people in there, right? Because in the end, it came down to personal judgment, right? Someone made the call.
But it's someone in HR or something, right?
No. Someone made the call
At the store?
at the store,
Oh, you mean just to get.
which led the
to kick off the
ball.
process?
Yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah.
kicked off the process.
Oh, for sure.
Right? We see that happen all the time, right? Oh, I got in trouble for talking on my cell phone while driving. I got pulled over, but I saw 15 people on the way to work. Where was the highway patrol then, right? We always have that similar conversation. So it comes down to the fact that, hey, you have the average Joe who does the right thing, and they feel taken advantage of because there's so many people who are not doing the right thing, and they're not getting into trouble. That's what really has to change. I mean, in the end,
I thought that earlier today when I heard Trump talking about the criminal yield and events. It just occurred to me how much criminal stuff he's probably done in his life that maybe he didn't get in trouble for. Stuff related to his company, like this whole fraud thing with Trump University.
Yeah.
And, he's apparently scammed a bunch of kids out of money for some cheesy fake education or whatever. I'm just curious to see what he's done.
I think, and I listened
business
to
dealings he's had.
Warren Buffett, and I think he put it so apropos, which is they asked him about Trump's business acumen, and he said, you know what? He's really done a good job in marketing. But
right?
he's done a good job in marketing.
Brilliant marketing.
But when it's come to running a business, he's actually not that good.
Yeah.
If you really look
He's had
at
a lot of
the
failures.
yeah,
He's
and
done
it's because of
bankruptcy
the
like
fact
8
that it is him trying to run a corporation versus, like I say, his marketing, his
Yeah.
branding.
He's not like some self-made guy. He inherited like $200 million or something.
And
He was born into it. You know, he's not some self-made guy.
no,
And he might have turned it into $1 billion. He probably did. You know, he probably grew it and did something great with it.
Yeah,
but
no,
he was handed.
he wasn't like everyday Joe, and he got from poor to where he is now.
Yeah.
And so no, but I totally understand. And I think
I don't know that it has to be that way.
it doesn't
to be successful, right?
it doesn't have to be that way in order for you to understand the middle class people. You know, that's like saying, you know, just because I didn't smoke crack doesn't mean I can't tell you it's bad for you just by looking at other people.
I don't
can
think
tell you
does
it's
he think
bad.
he cares about the middle class? I don't think he does. I mean, I'd have to see some evidence. That
You know
he really
what?
does, you know?
I'm gonna say this here. I'm gonna say I don't know until after, let's say his first let's say July of next year.
I
think
view
we'll
him as
have a
like
better
a
idea.
pure capitalist. You know, like I don't see him having anyone's interests at heart other than his own.
I mean, at this
Yeah.
point, everyone's gonna have to have reservations.
We just don't know.
Until,
we don't.
you know,
I'm
don't
curious
know.
to see. I'm
And
really
I
curious
think
to
we,
see how it goes.
you know what? I think we all are.
I hope he does a good job, man. I really do. I hope he surprises me.
Well, he surprised everybody by winning his election.
I know Bush didn't surprise me, but Bush didn't do as terrible a job as I thought he would do.
And I
You
think
know, he
Obama
did a
learned
little
that
bit
when he
better
got in
than I
office.
thought.
That
And
Bush wasn't doing his
I'm
bad.
hoping I have that same experience with Trump, that he does better than we
You know
think,
what?
than
It's gonna
we
be
expect.
different. You know, whether it's
well, I
different
would say
good
a
or
lot of
different
the
bad.
backpedaling that he's done has kind of got people like,
I hope he does things that are good for the average American. You know what I mean? And not Wall Street banks. You know, whatever.
Yeah, no. Like I said, I think, we have to hold him in reservation at this point.
Yeah.
But I think the thing you can get away from is we can get about talking about Trump and what he will or won't do, or the economics of it all, and forget kind of what this election was about and how
What was it about? It was about controversy and scandal
Well-
and stuff. It wasn't even about issues, man.
And that's the sad part.
Right?
But I think one of the things we can't ignore is the fact that it showed that our country is divided, and nobody, as much as you may want to say that,
like,
it's fixed,
what are the division? Like, what are we divided on?
I would say mostly race, which to me is, I don't
You
understand.
think? Because it seems like there's, I guess it seems like there's white people on both sides. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't be able to say that there's,
no,
it
I
was
don't.
just
I
like
don't think
it
there's-
wasn't like
I
white
don't-
people supported Trump and
I don't
everyone
think-
else was in some other
I don't think
in
there's-
Hillary's corner. It wasn't
I don't
like
think
that.
there's a huge racial divide.
And
I think what has happened is that the racial problems that we were just negligent to acknowledge is still there. It's
And
not.
they're just out and about now.
Yeah.
So
It's
everything
not
that was
completely
there
gone.
is out and about.
You know what's funny? Like the real racial issue in the last few years has been with the cops, right? At least for me, and I guess immigrants according to Trump. But in like real life, like where you're seeing racial issues on TV and where it's like applied in like real life, it's with the police shootings.
You know what? And even
I mean,
then,
in
I
my
would,
eyes, that's where it is.
and I know this is going to be controversial as an African American saying this. Even then, to a degree, I don't know. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the shootings wrong? I mean, they're wrong. I mean, there's no way, there's a lot of them where I can't even tell you. I can't even make a case for them. You know, and I'm not even trying to do that. And I'm not making a case for the one where the guy was on the ground and got shot. He's like, why you shoot me? I had my hands up and I'm on the ground.
Oscar Grant or which one?
It was one of the, I forget where he was, but it was with the mentally unstable young man.
Oh, okay.
And he had
His mom called him, his mom called him.
a truck in his hand. And the guy was, and the African American man is laying on the ground with his hands up, saying,
Oh, yeah.
don't shoot. He's just mentally unstable.
Yeah.
He had his hands on the ground, and next thing you know, he ended up shot. He's like, why y'all shoot me? I have my hands up. You know, so there's inexcusable. I think the thing that concerns me more I won't even say as an African American, but as an American, is the lack of respect that we have for authority. And you look at our leaders in Congress, and they're trying to figure out why. And I give you a prime example of the lack of respect that our leaders have for authority. When was the last time in American history, in the full congressional hearings, that you had a congressman yell out to the president of the United States,
Right?
"You're a liar"?
Yeah.
But yet we don't want to pay attention to, and we say, and his excuse was, "Oh, I was just angry." So how come it's okay for them to do that, but then when it comes down to police
It's not.
officers,
I don't think people
but
thought
my
that was
my
okay.
point being is that people want to deal with it down here, but let's deal with it up here too. I mean, our leaders shouldn't
I
be.
see
We
your
shouldn't
point,
be
but
able to get away with that.
I see your-
Let me finish, because I don't want it to be. I don't want you to think that I'm okay with the shootings, because I'm not.
That's what I was just going to say.
I'm
that
not
it
okay
doesn't-
with the shootings. I'm not by a long shot, but
And the fact that you don't do what authority says doesn't justify the shooting.
no, it doesn't.
You know.
No. And I want you to understand that I'm not saying that it justifies the shooting, but I'm also saying that having that lack of respect for authority can contribute to the shooting. And I think if we can get talked to about this portion of it and say, "Oh, okay, guys, you know what? Whether you're black, white, Latino, Asian, whatever it may be, you can't have this lack of respect for authority. It's impossible to have that lack
they're
of
like
respect."
two separate conversations we need to have, right?
It really,
You know what I mean?
it really is. I mean,
They're like two different
it's a
things.
bag of different conversations.
it really
right?
is. You
Because
can't just blame it
when
on the
you-
shooting.
When you think of lack of respect for authority, where does that, if I have a lack of respect for authority, who's teaching me to respect authority,
So it goes back to families.
right?
But maybe maybe like just from something I want to mention, like one of the interesting things I thought about all the police shootings was at my first glance, it seemed like this big racist kind of thought, But then you start to see a lot of the shooters weren't white. You know what I mean? Right? And that's one of the things that surprised me about that was that it's like the racism in the police force. It's not like the individual cop. It's like I see it as like it's like the whole system is racist. You know what I mean?
You know what?
Like even the cops that may be minorities within the police force are still part of the racist police
I mean, I don't.
organization. You know what I mean?
That's a fine line to
Like it
tread.
seems to me like the whole system is what's racist. and
I
not
feel
individual
like
cops.
the system needs to be tightened up. I wouldn't say that the system is racist. I just think that it comes down to personal experience. I think when you have cops in bad neighborhoods where the lack of authority is there,
Well, how come we
it-
don't
it-
see white people getting shot like we do see the you know what I mean? Why
because
does it seem like
because once again I think
if
it
it's
comes
not racist?
I think it comes down to experience.
And I'll even go a step further. And this is the one thing. If I hadn't learned this before, and I hadn't really paid attention to it, but I learned it this election. The media is entertainment. And what I mean by that is they're getting sensationalism. The more sensational it is, the more people who are going to watch, the higher the ratings are going to be, which means more money you can charge for advertising.
But a lot of the reason it's sensational is because it's on video. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
but look
that's
at the
what
neighborhood.
made it sensational.
You don't.
is that
You don't.
it's
but
filmed.
here we go.
You don't have the same kid shot in the project with a white man in those projects, right? You have different neighborhoods with different threat levels, right? That's why I say it comes down to experience. If I'm a cop and I'm going into a hostile territory and it's known to be hostile, I'm going to act accordingly versus in a
And
different
that's why
neighborhood.
I think that what I talked about the systemic kind of the system being racist, and that's what I mean by that, is when the system goes into that.
Yeah,
It teaches them to be.
but once again, it comes down to experience, right? How are the cops being trained, right? Are these cops handling those situations in a manner that is on par with the professionalism of what they do, right? I would think as a cop that no matter what situation, I have to handle that situation the same. Maybe I'm a little bit more on alert because I'm maybe in a more dangerous neighborhood than I'm accustomed to. right? But I still have to carry myself the same way.
And is it the neighborhood? Like sometimes it's not the neighborhood, man. Like look where that one guy got shot, the one he just mentioned. The one where the guy had his arms up and they said he had something in his hand. Remember his car was broken or something? He was in like a neighborhood. Maybe that guy was like, he was out in the middle of like Kansas somewhere. You know what I mean? It wasn't some like bad neighborhood. It didn't seem like to me. It seemed like some farm road or something.
But you don't know what that cop experience is.
But I think it had more to do, instead of showing the geographics, I think it has more to do with the demographics. And I think the way they train the cops, it has more to do with the demographics than the geographics. You know what I mean? They train them to what to look for, what a criminal looks like, what a threat is, who has a gun, that kind of stuff. What kind of people that have guns are at risk. You know what I mean?
No,
I think
that's why
that's
why I say it's a mixed bag of different conversations, right? I definitely think it comes down to training, right? And how that training is geared. I wouldn't know because I'm not a cop and I've never went through the
And
training.
you know, it seems like it'd be like I feel bad for him kind of sometimes.
You know,
I can see why you'd be scared. You know?
we got to cut it short because we're like an hour into it and it's kind of dark out here. You got a closing comment you want to tell everybody? You?
Any questions?
Yeah,
you can find us on Racing Online. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. Any questions you have, let us know.
You know, this is the only thing I want to say in honor of Veterans Day weekend. When you go to bed at night and your kids are asking you about, let's say, Batman, Robin, Superman, Aquaman, Black Lightning, any other of those kind of superheroes, pointing to a veteran. You know, they do these amazing things, and I don't think they're just heroes in my eyes. I think they're superheroes because you look at the things that they do. You know, no matter where they find themselves, whatever they're doing, they're always thinking about the betterment of their common man. No matter how injured they may be, they still try to leap tall buildings in a single bound. They still try to go faster than a speeding bullet. They still try to do all of these things. And so it's incumbent upon each and every one of us to honor them in the way that they deserve to be honored. To make sure that, you know, the ones who don't talk about the things that they do, that we tell their story to our young kids. We tell their story to our neighbors so that they understand that superheroes aren't in a fictional book. Superheroes are out there protecting the freedoms that allow us to have this conversation every day. Superheroes are out there protecting the right for the individuals who are out there protesting to be able to do that. Superheroes are out there protecting the right that Colin Kaepernick has to protest. So when you go to bed tonight and you think about a superhero and you have a veteran within your family and you know the story and the things that they've been through, tell that to your kids. And as we've all said it before, go to our Facebook page, take a look at it, give us comments. We're looking for your feedback. You know, tell us where we went wrong. If there are facts we said that are wrong, post it on there so we can take a look at it. And coming shows will have a different thing, so let us know what kind of show you would like to have. Let us know what city you'd like for us to be in so you can come join us. And with that, I'll say goodbye. Thank you, and have a great day. All right, so. Yeah.
That was good, man. Thanks, guys.
Always a pleasure, Joe.
Always a pleasure, man. Don't forget Wednesday. We'll meet at 7 o'clock.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
Thanks, you guys.
No problem. Yeah, and I didn't mean for it to get that long. I was trying to cut it off. See, we had 17 viewers on Periscope. See, here we go. This is why we got to cut it down to half an hour. That right there.
But we need more structure.
Yeah, we do.
That's the
See, and these.
in your battle between Joe didn't really help either.
Ooh. But that's why I wanted to make.
Did it appear that I understood where you were coming from?
Hold on. Make sure that nobody's on there, right?
It just ended.